Michael Moore and me, we share the same optimism about Tuesday. I know what the polls are saying, close election, etc. But then again, you go out to the polls and you see that the monumental amount of people that are voting. Do you really think all these people voting are out there just voting for the sake of we are going to vote to take away our Social Security. We are going to vote to give more tax breaks to corporations. We know that there is a sect of folks in this country who the Republicans have used as pawns by bringing out their most internal carnal fears. They're bringing out a prejudice that is built on fear. We know a lot of that is done psychologically perfectly by Republicans, but there are enough other people that don't fall for that if they will come out to vote. And as Michael Moore is saying, there are a lot more Democrats and progressives in this country than there are Republicans, period, punto final. And he proves that by pointing out the popular votes in this country has not gone to a Republican in over 8 cycles. Well, there was only one time again, and that was Bush during war. So, he has a very important point to make. And what I want you to do is listen to this. Get the optimism that he is presenting. Get the optimism that we're presenting. And go ahead and call folks and tell them, hey, your vote will matter this time around. Go out and vote. Go out and vote on Tuesday. Go out and for places that are still open today, go out and vote today. Because it is, I'm not going to use the word existential because a lot of people don't quite follow it. I'm going to say it is best for your own personal bank account. It is best for the social services that you will need. It is best for your health care. Absent voting correctly, all those issues are pretty much in doubt. Wait a minute. Did I just say they are in doubt? No, they're not in doubt. We know what the results are going to be because they have continuously told you what they intend to do with Social Security. They have told you what they intended to do with the Affordable Care Act. They have told you what they intend to do with charging you more taxes as they give tax breaks to you know whom, the wealthy and corporations, because that's their only modus operandi. So here is Brother Moore. Listen to what he has to say, and we'll be right back.
Michael has laid it out on the beat tonight. He sees a Democratic victory powered by the women's vote. We got into several things. I did promise Michigan, go blue, as they used to say at my alma mater, but they didn't mean it in terms of the red-blue map. What is going on in your state of Michigan, where you have voiced concerns about the economy, populism, things that Republicans have claimed they want to help? They say they're going to get your prices down. They're going to get government off your back. But what's going on in this state, you know well, as the party on the right embraces outright election deniers in Michigan?
Well, yeah, but that's just the Republican Party. I mean, there are so many more Democrats than Republicans in Michigan. And when the Democrats have lost in the past with Michigan, it's because they didn't get the vote out. Hillary lost Michigan in 2016 by an average of 2 votes per precinct. That's it. If only 2 more people had shown up per precinct, Trump wouldn't be president. But that's why, as you went to commercial break, that's the most important thing. The only way the Democrats can lose on Tuesday is we don't show up, and we don't bring 5 people with us to the polls, and we don't call 10 people this weekend, and don't assume that everybody's planning to vote. People have a lot going on in their lives. So that is for Michigan. That's the key thing. Here's a great statistic for Michigan. So another group that's going to show up in very large numbers are young people, young adults. Back in 2014, 15% of 18 to 29-year-olds showed up to vote in Michigan in the off-year election of 14. Just 4 years later, in 2018, that went from 15% of young people showing up to 32.2%. More than double in just 4 years showed up. And that trend has continued. Actually, it's really sort of started in Barack Obama's first election. Across the whole country, young people. The white 18 to 29-year-old vote was the only white demographic that Obama won in that first year. I know it's hard to believe, right? So how did he win? Well, he won because about 70% of the eligible voters in this country now are either women, people of color, or 18 to 35. Those are the three groups, or a combination of the three. A young black woman, for instance. So with that in mind, you think about 70% are the base, or the traditional base of the Democratic Party: women, people of color, young people. If we show up, this is ours. In the states where they ask you, are you a Democrat or Republican? When you register, you have to list a party. There are 20 million, and there's about 40 some states, 20 million more register as Democrats over Republicans. In 7 of the last 8 presidential elections, the popular vote has gone to the Democrat running for president. Only once in 34 years, since George I in 88, only once since then has the Republican got the popular vote. The other 7 times, it's been the Democrat. So how can we lose if obviously the people of America through those 8 elections said, you know who I want running the country? I want the Democrat in the White House. And
no,
yet,
I was just going to say, it's a fascinating data point because it was 7 of 8 more people voted for the Democrat in the White House. And the one exception was 2004, which was a wartime incumbent president against terror. So that's really the one exception that you have.
And I've heard you, I remember at the time you pointed out that America has never removed a president at the polls during a war. Never happened.
Right.
And it didn't happen. It almost happened.
As a political science matter, you could understand why that trend occurs, even though there's other reasons why people are worried about who's in charge. Michael, we gave you 2 blocks. That's one more block than most guests get. I'm so honored, and thank you for letting me say this, because we've heard the other story so much. Republican surging. No, I appreciate it. Look,
and it's like,
and there are people who, I don't know if you know this.
If we show up, that's not going to happen.
There are people who have followed your work for decades and look to you for exactly the analysis you did tonight. And Michael Moore making some news on the beat, calling it a Democratic race. We'll see Tuesday. There are people who love Grover Norquist.
Yeah.
Not call it, but there are people who love Grover Norquist, and he was on last night, so people can hear all of it and make up their own minds. That's the spirit. You did say a lot, so I hope after Election Day, if you're wrong, you got to come back and deal with it. But if you're right, you got to come back and we'll run the tape. Okay, deal?
How could I be wrong? The only way I could be wrong is if people watching this don't get out to vote and don't bring 10 people with them. Then they'll be wrong because we didn't do our work over this last weekend to get the vote out.
That's what I'm talking about, folks. I mean, it's not an empty wish that Moore is talking about. Here's what Moore is talking about. The election is not over until Tuesday. People have that choice to decide to get up off their butts or not on Tuesday. It is imperative that people actually are informed. Many people have no clue what government has been doing over the last 2 years. Whose fault is that? The mainstream media, and to some extent, the Democratic Party that has not been engaging as it should with not its members, but with America. So this is not wishful thinking. You go out there and you make that call to others and say, hey guys, go vote. You also spread this word, spread this video, spread all these things and let folks know. Go out and vote. Disregard the polls. The polls are the instant in time. Somebody called you up and somebody called a person up and said, hey, are you going to vote? And you say, I don't think I'm going to vote. All right, that's not a likely voter. Click. Then your friend calls that same person and says, hey, John, are you going to vote? Well, I don't know. Look, John, you need to go out there and vote because right now, if you don't vote, you are putting a lot of people to death. You are making sure that a lot of people who would otherwise have insurance don't get it. You are putting grandma's health care on the table. You are putting grandma's Social Security and my Social Security on the table. So please, are you going to go vote, John? Well, now that you put it that way, I think I better go vote. If every progressive and democratic American does that, the polls mean nothing because it's just saying, are you going to vote or not? And if you go and vote, who are you going to vote for? Folks, it's still in your hands. It's in your hands today. For places that are still open on Saturday, it is there for you to make that change. And on Tuesday, November 8th, you can decide whether this country is going backwards or whether this country will continue on a path to progress, to a path to progressive movement where all Americans have equal access to success, happiness, and all that makes life better for all. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.